Well, it's a wonderful question, because what is the relationship to holding on to the Dhamma? Because it's so, at first, when I think of holding on to Baba's Dhamman, I think, well, yes, I can do that much. But then you look at the history of Baba's life, and a great many people let go. Now, as Baba says, his will, God's will, but I'm just saying, who am I to say? People that, one reads about that had a very important role with Baba were not destined to stay with him. Herbert Davy, Quentin Todd, Jean Adriel, although some say she sort of came back in Baba's fold in the end. And of course, they don't really leave Baba in any sense of the word, because if Baba is Baba, they are already Baba. So if you want to think of it that way, it's not a matter of letting go or holding. But the way we see it and the way we experience it is that these people who are very close to him, traveled with him, worked for him, they didn't hold on. Reading The Wayfarers recently, read The Wayfarers, yes? There's some tentative nods here. Yeah, anyone, I won't say who hasn't, that's not nice. If you haven't, or if you haven't read it recently, I commend it to you as a really, I'm just going to say, the book that I feel gives me the deepest awareness of what's going on in his universal work that we can't know or see. And it's not that Baba explains his universal work there or anywhere. It's the dynamic of working with the Musts and his ecstatic joy with them, the seeking out of them all over India. The map has some 300 different places they went looking for the Musts, and also the Mad and others, but the Musts were the key. And when we rereading that, Christopher and I are reading it out loud, and one is just struck with the glimpse into what's really happening in the universe. The Wayfarers is like a peephole. We have no idea what's going on, but the Wayfarers kind of lets you see a little bit of that when you see through the behaviors of these Musts and Baba's relationship. What does that have to do with holding on to his Dhamma? It struck me that the people who helped him find the Musts and work with the Musts, they had the deepest, strongest grasp on the Dhamma. Nothing shook them. They had no thought for themselves. And what they went through? I mean, anybody going through that, and I include myself, is going to say, hey, I can't do this. I cannot do this. Extraordinary tests from working with Baba and the Musts. So I say that looking at my life, who am I, to say, well, of course I'm going to hold on. What kind of thing is that? I've been with Baba 60-some years in this lifetime. And, but there have been times in my life where Baba has shattered himself. Means he shattered what I thought was Baba. And that felt like a kind of, as though Baba were leaving me, or I am leaving him. Because that was, what was I holding on to? And then it wasn't there. And I don't know if any of you have had similar experiences, but, Baba lets us build up an idea of Baba, right? This is Baba, this is Baba. And then it's shattered. And then what? If we've depended so much on that, then where are we? So I guess one lesson in my life of holding on to Baba's Dhamma is don't depend on that. And I mean, when I say that, I mean Meher Baba's history. I mean the discourses. I mean the mandali. I mean the center. I mean the samadhi. That is not Baba. And that can all be like dust in your hands if Baba tests you. And he does. At least I feel he does. He does me. And I learned through that trial of fire that I went through a number of years ago that all that I thought was Baba is not Baba. Does it point to Baba? Sure. Mandali people, great role in my life. Elizabeth Kitty, being at the center. All of that. Those are clues to Baba, right? How are we doing here? Should I hold it? No, I can hold it. It doesn't want to. So, yeah, all of those are clues, but you know the old Zen image comes in here. Don't mistake the finger pointing to the moon for the moon. If you hold on to these things that I'm listing, great as they are, they're not Baba. And Baba will shatter. So, what I'm saying is, what I have gathered from Baba in the shattering process is do not hold on to what, as helpful as it is, as much as you love that the mandali loved you, as much as you radiated joy being at the center, as much as Elizabeth meant to you, and she meant everything, that is not Baba. And if you're holding on to that, I will shatter it. And then you will have to find me in a deeper way. So that's what Christopher and I have had to do in our lives. And that we are so blessed because that's grace that we found him in a deeper way. But not everyone is given that grace at that time. They will just say, oh, that's enough for me now. So I don't know if that answers Alan and Adrian's question, but I think it's holding on to Baba's Dhamma means finding Baba within oneself, and holding on to your Baba is what I'm trying to say. Now you're... It's not so easy for someone who was sitting on Baba's knee at age 7. How do you let that go? Is exactly right. And I was very privileged, and so Baba set me up. No, he did, and he treated me like, like he does when he treated Donkin when Donkin first came to the ashram. He treated me like that, except I was older. But he, wonderful, sit with me, listen. Donkin was treated like a prince. And Donkin, as you've read his diaries, one day he says, today, finally, Baba ignored me, and I feel like I'm now under the mandali. So Baba will set one up. And he does it for a reason that's, his one reason he does everything, to draw us closer to him. Not to him here. And what I hold on to in my Baba is not Baba. It's my beginning of realizing Baba, yes, but it is more Baba than anything else out here. And if people say, well, you don't know much about Baba, you think you know. No, but Baba says to hold on to what we know in our conscience to be true. That's where Baba speaks, in our conscience. He speaks inside. And if the whole world says, no, you're wrong. I've had, at one crisis time in my life, I had a couple of mandali people say, no, you're wrong. That's disobedience. What do you do with that? Oh gosh, I better rethink. Well, you can rethink. You certainly should take into account everyone's perspective. But in the end, you have to listen to the conscience and not compare it to anybody else's Baba. Everybody's Baba is Baba, because as long as it's in here, because no one is further or closer to Baba than anyone else, Baba says. No one. Erich is not closer to Baba than you or me. Baba is in you just as much as he is in Erich. Now, is Erich, have this training? Is Erich this? Is Erich that? What happens if Erich lets go? Where are you left? Oh, but Erich, no. Well, wait a minute. So Baba actually said this in one day in the Nasik ashram. He said, well, you see, here's Norina. Norina, and I think he was just picking people out for examples. Maybe it was also true. Here is Heidi from Switzerland. They're very close. They love each other. They depend on each other, and they share Baba. Baba says that's good friendship. It's wonderful. Baba says, but what happens to Norina if Heidi leaves me? What happens to her? Baba says, yes, be friends, be close, get to know one another here in the ashram. That's fine. Chat, whatever you like. But don't lean. Don't lean on anyone. Lean on me. And then Baba says, who is me? I am yourself. Now, you could say, well, they were with Baba physically. I had the joy of a small little time. I see that leaning on Baba, it's easy to do when he's there. But even when he's there physically, Baba warns against it, leaning, because he wants you to follow your conscience even if it displeases him. That's what he says. He says, don't do anything, even to please me or the world, that goes against the dictates of your conscience. That's what he said. He said that more than once. And that's because if we don't follow our conscience, the inner voice where he speaks, then we're setting ourselves up to let go. The only way to hold on is to be true to yourself. And if everyone else says, no, that's not Baba, fine. That's all right. So Erich tells the story, and you've probably read it in that wonderful book of his stories, which is one of the great things ever published. That's how it was. No, not that one. The one they put it all together in one volume. Oh, God. No. The Erich stories that they used to publish separately, and then it puts them all in one big volume. Whatever it's called, That's the Way It Was, or whatever. Absolutely, to me, I could read that all day, every day. So anyway, Erich says in one of those stories that he was talking about how do you know what to do? How do you know what to do? And he said, well, Erich said, you have to follow, you have to follow, what inwardly you feel. But Erich, Baba was right there. Yeah, he says, true, obedience is there and all that. But he said, let me give you an example. One day, Baba's in the cabin, and I'm going to mess it up, but I'm going to mess it up in good spirit. You can fix it later. And Baba's in the cabin in seclusion and all that. And Baba, said, nothing, don't disturb me under any circumstances, how Baba was. And, I don't care what it is, but if I call you, you come immediately. I don't know, it was a bell or something. If I call you, ring or whatever, you have to come immediately. Yes, Baba. So you're out here, he's in there. Baba said, I don't care what it is. So, middle of the night, what does Erich see? A snake, right. Isn't that an amazing story? He sees a snake going in to Baba's cabin, and Baba's bed is right there where the snake is going under, a poisonous snake. And so what do you think Erich did? Well, Baba said, don't disturb him, let him die. Let Baba get bit. No. He went and he grabbed the tail of the snake and he got it, and he pulled it out. So Baba meanwhile while he was doing it, and Eris didn't respond because he was, and then he got to get rid of the snake. I mean, and Baba's getting, upset, and he goes in, and Baba says, "What? What is this? I called, you didn't come." Baba said, "Baba, what to do? There was this snake there, and all." He explains it all to Baba. It's reasonably. He explains to Baba. No, Baba said, I told you, no matter what, if I called you to come immediately, and you disobeyed me. You disobeyed me. Eris said Baba was very hard on him. And people asked, well, did that bother you? Eris says, yeah, no. I mean, he says, if I had it to do again, I would do the same thing. Yeah, I would do the same thing. Why? It's my duty to take care of his body. I would do it. So what? He gets mad. So that's the thing. Conscience. Following what you know is right to do is what Baba wants. Baba is speaking to us through our conscience. And our job is to make sure our conscience is in good shape. Fill it with things that Baba has said, Baba's example, Baba's places. Fill it with his fragrance, right? So when the moment comes when you are trying to listen to what to do in life, and now you can't cable India, you can't cable Mandalay even, which I wouldn't do anyway, but you see what I'm saying? Elizabeth isn't there for me to knock on the door. So what to do? Fall more and more on Baba here, which is what he wants, and follow that. If everyone else says you're letting go of Baba's Dhamma by doing that, so what? Let him say that. How do they know? The thing is, the caveat I would say, and this is my own feeling, for what it's worth, I never say to other people, I would never say, my conscience tells me to do so and so and so and so, so you should too. Yeah, because that's what Baba is saying to me, so obviously it's what Baba wants. Well, no. No, Baba, to me, that's counter to everything Baba gives us. People always want to take authority, and Baba says, you have none. You have no authority. If you speak my words as your own, they're meaningless. If you take authority, Baba says, you can't do that. If you too take my words and tell other people, you tell them always, Baba told us this in 62, he says, first say, this is my interpretation. Right? If you say that, Baba says, then say what you want. But don't take it that this is what Baba says. This is what Baba wants. This is what I can tell what Baba, no. We have no authority whatsoever, I feel. And so holding on to my Baba is my Baba. I don't expect anyone else to hold on to my Baba because they have their own. They have their own. And some people, I feel him so strongly, I say, oh my gosh, if only I had that depth of, but then I stop and I say, no. It's like Baba told me in 62, I am giving you exactly what you need, what you're ready for, no more, no less. That's the Baba you have. And I will reveal more of myself when the moment is right. Alan and Adrian, you can write me later and tell me that wasn't exactly what you asked, but that's what comes to me anyway. Yeah.
Help me see this through, because what I'm hearing is that holding on to Baba's Dhamma is a surrender. The relationship with Baba is so personal, and it's a total surrender without expectations of him or yourself, or attachments to any outcomes from either Baba or ourselves. Just be. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, I mean, each person is going to be different how they feel about holding on. But yeah, I think surrender means surrendering surrendering my idea of Baba is hard. Surrendering what I think Baba is saying here or there. Surrendering my attachment to the center in Myrtle Beach where I was supposed to be for the rest of my life, and I'm not. I'm here in New Jersey, which I'm happy to be. But you know what I mean. I had to surrender that. I thought that's my life. That was what it would be. Well, I had to surrender that. Well, yeah, with Baba, life is a series of surrenders. So if we don't let go of those things and we hold on to them and we're angry about them, which I was for a long time, not too long, but I was angry, then we corrode our relationship with him, and we're letting go. We're letting go. We think we're holding on. Oh, well, I've got Baba because I know what's right. I know what's right. These people are wrong. I'm right, and I'm going to hold on to what I think is right. That's not surrender. That's the opposite. If I surrender and say they are following their conscience, I'm following mine. Baba is just as much in them as he is in me. Let go. The only thing I wouldn't let go, because Elizabeth told me this, and my little book about Elizabeth, I think I left this out, so I need a new volume. No, I love that little book, not because I wrote it, but because I loved recording all the stories of listening to her. But one thing she said that stuck with me, all my life about this surrender business is how did she put it? I want to get it right, so it'll take me a minute. But the point is, here's how she put it. She said, let go. Don't argue, let go, let go, let go in life with people. Just let go. It doesn't matter, she said, unless it's a spiritual point. Now, my marriage to Christopher is a spiritual point. I don't care if the choir of angels descends from heaven and tells me that my marriage is not valid or is against God. I'll just tell them to go somewhere else, because that's a spiritual point. There are not many. I don't have, for example, if somebody, Baba is this, Baba is that, Baba is the other thing. Baba is none of those things. In my ignorance, we are all living in this state of ignorance. So in my ignorance, what do I know? I'm willing to let go. My idea of Baba, my, thoughts about him and all that, push me a little bit and I'll let it go. I'm not going to cling to that or argue for it. But my inner experience of him, someone questions that or says it's not genuine, that's a spiritual point. So that's what she meant. We know when there's something that's so deeply real and important in our heart and our conscience that even if the whole world, Baba says, is against you, he says, stand firm. Even if winds blow you and blasts of air, he uses these images, storms, however, what images Baba uses. I don't have the quote in front of me, but it's like that. He says, stand firm on that. You're not right or wrong. You're standing firm on your conscience.
Sounds like as human beings we dance a dance between ego and conscience.
Yes, we do. Now, I don't know if you've ever had the experience that you've wanted to do something and your conscience tells you you can't do it or you shouldn't do it. Has that ever happened to you? It happens to me about every hour on the hour. No, we're in constant dialogue with our inner voice. And Carl Jung was very emphatic that he said the self, with a capital S, God, the God archetype, speaks through conscience. And I think Baba says the same thing in a different twist on it. But, Baba doesn't just speak through just intuitive voice or, inner this or that. No, because that could be anything. Could be anything. Baba speaks through the capacity each human being has to know what is true and what's not, what's right and what's wrong. Apparently, we all have that capacity, and that's where Baba speaks. He doesn't speak in the discourses. He doesn't speak in, through the mandali. He doesn't speak in the tomb. And yet he speaks in all those places. But the real speaking, those are clues to what he's saying here, is all I'm saying. They give you the fragrance. And then it's for you to find the fragrance in here, because this will all, out here will disappoint, including mandali people disappoint. I'm sorry, but some will. They will disappoint if you put them up here somewhere. I hope something. Okay, and don't let me miss anything. I'm in my fervor about this. The inner Baba, everybody has their own Baba to cultivate, to know, to love.
I'm reminded that Baba said that the 10 Commandments are in each of our consciousness, in our souls.
Yeah.
The 10 Commandments are actually written in our souls. They didn't even have to be codified, because that's what's true.
Yeah, you codify them, and then you begin, the whole religion process begins. Then you say, these people do this, these people do that, this is wrong, we should punish these people. And Baba in this Advent has warned against that many, many times. I have not come to teach, but to awaken. I have not come to, so many times that it was engraved on his samadhi, on his, the slab of marble is, I have come not to teach, but to awaken. So Baba is not, his teachings, are wonderful clues. Sometimes in the early days, don't eat meat, don't drink alcohol, it's terrible for you. You read that in the early pamphlets, Baba's quoted that way. Later, don't use birth control, don't do this, don't do that. All of these things that were given because Baba was asked this question or that question. But, that's not Baba. That's Baba speaking to particular times and places, and take them seriously. If it helps you, good. If it doesn't, no, don't worry about it. It's not Baba. The only book, and this is now very personal, and again, I'm just speaking for only me, the only book of Baba's writing, sayings, that I find to be the closest to my own experience of hearing him within is the Everything and the Nothing. Oh, man. So I try not to lean on that either, but I'm just saying it speaks unvarnished. Baba is speaking without all the, giving a discourse on meditation or this and that, which he did in the early days. He was asked to. He did. Everything and Nothing were things that he said in Guru Prasad in the 60s, and people wrote down, and it was Baba, I think, just more direct, more divine, more about himself as God in human form. You get almost nothing of that in the discourses. You notice that? You get very little about Baba as being God in human form, what that means and how it works. Everything and Nothing, it's all that. He's speaking as the God-man, as the avatar. Oh, so anyway, that's the one little book. I carry it everywhere. But everybody has their own little window into the voice of Baba that helps them find the voice of Baba here. And so that's just me. That and the Wayfarers are the two things I would take on my desert island. If I only had two books to take. Yes. Baba is our conscience. Yeah. Lodged in something as my conscience. Yes. Well, that's a beautiful way to put it. I think it's Candy. I think that's a wonderful way to think about it, that the more we cultivate our conscience, we may be all born with the capacity to hear God within. I think that's true, or hear. Sometimes philosophers call it moral intuition, conscience. So You want to think of it that way. It's moral, it's intuition, but it's moral. But however you want to think about it, the capacity to know what's right and true and what isn't, we cultivate that by our upbringing. Sometimes we don't cultivate it. Our parents cultivate it, the church we went to. So our conscience is being shaped and shaped and shaped all our lives by all these different things. So it's for us to keep now that we have his truth and his Dhamma, to fill our conscience with as much of his truth as we can, without substituting what he's saying here with what he says out here, right? I'll give you a brief example. So I think, yes, I think Candy's right. I think more and more you're with Baba, the more your conscience is just where he speaks, and that is Baba. But I'll give you a little example. Where I had trouble years ago when I first started going to India after Baba left his physical body. And it was a wonderful thing. Mandali people were there and all that. It was, what a great thing to see Mara. And all that. But be with Mara was just the greatest privilege in my life, except for being with Baba himself. So all wonderful things. But I did have a thing in my conscience about birth control, frankly, at that time. I don't know why. I guess I was a little self-righteous and, people, and then in the 80s, the AIDS crisis, and, the Pope saying, can't use condoms. I mean, I thought, people are dying? Come on. I said to myself, where's the Pope's conscience here? Like that. But here's Baba in the discourses saying all this stuff about. He was saying it at another time, and certain forms of birth control that we have today weren't even around. But nevertheless, there's a strong language about birth control, and I don't know. Somehow I was in India thinking about this, and Christopher, and I think it was with Christopher because it was a little later than I'm thinking, because we were going through archival material at Mani's permission, Adi's files, Adi K. Irani, Adi Sr., Baba's secretary. We were going through looking for things to do with Narina, and she said, oh yes, go ahead. He had these file cabinets with letters and such, thousands and thousands. And I was going through just looking for that period when Narina might, or under her name, or I don't know. It was like a needle in a haystack. But anyway, we were looking. And I saw a name on an envelope, a family name. And I said, oh, that must be the parents of this young man who's here now. It's the same name. So, just, oh my gosh, let me just see what this is. So I pulled it out. She said you can look at anything. I pulled out the letter and sure enough, I recognized the area of the country that this young man was from. And this must be his parents writing to Baba years ago. I wrote it. And in their letter to Baba, they said, Baba, we're recently married and we're not ready for children. We just can't do it for these reasons. And they said, but then we've read in the discourses about birth control and truthfully, Baba, this is very hard on our marriage. We can't have children now, but now, can we have, normal relations in a marriage like that? So they wrote this to Baba. I thought, here it is, see? This is what I've been thinking about. They wrote to him about it. And so I got out the reply that Adi sent on behalf of Baba. And Adi said, I read your letter out to Baba. He gave me permission. And Baba says, you should have a normal marriage, normal relations. You should be happy, enjoy your marriage. And Baba says, don't mind what I've said in the discourses, just enjoy your marriage. I think he said, ignore her. And I thought, okay. Me building it up into some sort of theological thing Why would Baba say this? Why? Well, you know, Baba was not Baba. No, he wasn't. I mean, anyone who thinks Meher Baba was Baba is thinking, I think, you know, small. He's small. He wasn't small. He gave different discourses when he was Jesus and Muhammad, a different cosmology each time. He's, you know, he's going to pop up with something new. God Speaks will be old hat by the time he comes again. Seriously. You start saying, oh, well, this guy doesn't follow God Speaks, so he can't be the avatar. That's exactly right. Baba will set it up that way so that everybody will say, oh, Baba said the avatar is always in a male form, and this person says she's the avatar, or they is the avatar. That can't be because he said, because recognition of the avatar is not going to be because of the things that Jesus said or Muhammad said or didn't say, right? Not going to be. In fact, it's going to be the other way around. Baba is going to find a way to put people off. And because the only recognition he wants of who he is here. And if it isn't there, he's not going to give it. He can give the recognition, mind, and then it doesn't matter what form he has, you're going to recognize. But if you're looking for clues in what he gave before, it's not going to happen. So I guess I'm saying, Erich sent this message to me during the crisis time in Myrtle Beach with Christopher and I and my mother and all that stuff. And we were pretty much, sinking in confusion and chaos, despair. And Erich didn't write things down much because as soon as he would send me something written, of course, it would be all over the place. Not because of me, but people would find out, somebody would tell somebody would, that's what happened. And some of that was deliberate. There were some people who got a Mondley person to write something so then they could distribute it all around. They did that. We did not do that. We wouldn't even think of it. But he would send messages, cryptic messages, through someone he trusted. He would do that. Erich would do that. Erich and I were close. And, homosexuality for many, in his generation in the East is like, what is that? Erich had his own things about that, about women, about everything. Erich had his own prejudices and limited, but he always, in my experience of Erich, was able to rise above Erich and do what he thinks Baba wants. He may not agree or disagree, So that was his genius, his greatness. He didn't conflate Baba and Erich. There were people in the West and in the East who decided that their views on these things were from Baba, and so, damn it, they were right. Fine, that's their destiny. Erich was not like that. Mani was not like that. Mani would rise above all the stuff. She would see it from the 30,000 feet view. And because she was taught by Baba, that's what you do. Anyway, so one of these cryptic messages was, tell Charles, Meher Baba's work is greater than Meher Baba. Tell him. And it was recently, as I was reading through these wonderful things we have now, Tiflin lectures and these things that are so rich. I saw that many years ago Baba said the same thing. In other words, I didn't know Erich was quoting Baba. This Erich message, okay. But it hit me very deeply. Now that I know he got it from Baba, it even hits me deeper. And I thought, at first I thought, what? No, there's nothing greater than Meher Baba. Meher Baba's work, Baba says, according to what I just read somewhere, is greater than Meher Baba. And that, of course, that's true. Because taking human form, becoming human in this period of time, one is limited by definition because you take on the limitations of the time. And you have the certain thing. You like Jim Reeves. You know, you have interests, you're a person. Baba was that. His work, however, was not limited like that, ever. His work of changing consciousness, of awakening himself and all living things. Elizabeth used to say, you know, Charles, remember this, everyone will try to limit Baba. But remember, no one can limit Baba. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, you know, this Meher Baba, his work of awakening himself and you and in me is the greatest thing of all. That's God becoming God. And there's nothing higher than that. That's the greatest thing in the universe. So there you are. I'm so blessed that Baba let me feel this through a crisis and suffering. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to me, no question about it. Why? Because I was freed from all these things that I had built up about Baba's this and that, and Baba says this, and Baba does that. Boom! And then once you get over the shock, it's, I'm free. Free to what? To let go of Baba? That's one thing people could do. Or discover a deeper inner Baba than you ever knew. And by his grace, that's the path I took. I'm not praising myself because I don't think I would. You know, I think it's, at that point, it's grace. I couldn't do it. I was too hurt. I couldn't do it. It's grace. Grace. Yes.
From my wish, when you feel happy, think Baba wants me to be happy. When you suffer, think Baba wants me to suffer. So I want to apply when I'm suffering. I want to apply. Don't worry, be happy. Suffering and be happy. How is possible?
Yeah. Right. Well, I think that the be happy part is to experience that suffering is his will. Then that's the only happiness is to be free from the sort of belief we have that our suffering uh, uh, blocks us from being happy. There are, you know, people in your lives, so it's not hard to imagine. You know people in your lives, and maybe yourself, who suffer great things in the world, or people say, oh, that person really has a lot of suffering, and so forth. And look how happy they are. How is that? How are they so happy? Because apparently, well, in my suffering, little as it is compared to others, I've found great happiness. Actually, that's when I really have found happiness. I'm not inviting it. I'm not recommending it to other people. I'm just saying that for me, my illnesses or the crisis in Myrtle Beach and all that have been the most liberating parts of my life and have given me true joy. That and making other people happy. Baba's right about that, and I have learned that lesson, that if I really, really want to be happy, you see, people who suffer a lot and are out there making other people happy, how joyful they are, how happy they are, because it's so true. People who don't, outwardly at least, or they don't have, their destiny isn't to suffer very much right now or whatever, I mean, Yeah, they're fine. Maybe they're happy or they think they're happy in a certain way. I get that. But what a blessing to be happy in a deeper way. So free from Baba, why do I suffer? Free from that is happiness, is to be happy. And Baba says, you say, why do I suffer? Baba, look at me, I've lived a good life, I've done this, I've done that. Why am I suffering? Baba says, yeah, Baba says, first of all, you have no idea. Everything you say you suffer, my compassion has already mitigated it. Baba said, believe that. And also Baba says, it is I who suffer. I'm the one who suffers. Why? Because I suffer through your entrapment. I suffer through that you live in ignorance. I suffer through, I am you, but I don't know it. And that's a great suffering for me. He said, that's my crucifixion, is being bound in you. Baba says, that's suffering. That's real suffering, right? So Baba says that I'm the one who suffers because you do not exist. So you don't suffer. You think you suffer. But if Baba says you feel you suffer, yeah, I see that. And you want to blame somebody about it. Why God? Why me? Baba says, yeah, that's fine. Baba says, blame me. Blame me, because it all has come out of me. If all there is God, if that's all there is, and if all this is his dream, God's dream, I should say his dream, that's so narrow. If all this is the divine dream, is the metaphor Baba gives, or the divine film, if you like that metaphor better, then yeah, we feel the suffering because we're in it. We feel we're in it. And we go through it. And Baba doesn't say, I don't want to be glib here about suffering because honestly, I would not talk to somebody who's suffering and saying they're suffering in a way that suggests that that I don't take their suffering seriously or that they don't really suffer. All that. That's not right because I'm ignorant. I have no idea. I can say what Baba says, but I wouldn't even do that in that situation. Why? I would say, I would support them. I would try to help them. That's what Baba wants. He doesn't want us to explain away suffering. But if you ask him about suffering, Baba has given what he's given the harsh truth that people don't want to hear. They want to say, I'm suffering. But Baba says, no, you're not. But he's not going to tell them that when they're suffering. No. Baba, in fact, was the opposite. If someone came to Baba suffering, Baba was so compassionate, so loving. Eric told me thousands of times, you have no idea how he treated people who came, they were sick and they were this, they were disturbed, Baba was so loving, so compassionate. Yeah, I can't, this is feedback, but should I just hold this thing?
Okay.
What do you think? Is that better?
Is this better?
Yeah. So the woman who came, who was with child, a young girl, and Baba cared for her, found her a place to stay while she had her child so she could go back to her family without being pilloried in the village, all of that. Baba went to great lengths to help people who are suffering. So nobody should ever say, me included, that Baba didn't take suffering seriously. He is in that woman. He is in the people who died in Gaza. He is in people who are suffering right now. That's Baba. So does Baba feel that? Of course he does. There's no one else to feel it but Baba. If Baba's all there is, then of course he feels he is that. He is the one going through that. And that's why he is who he is. And that's why his answer to suffering is the only one I've ever come across that touches my heart. Because Baba says, I alone suffer. And I will take it on. I will take yours on. And I will help you. I will support you. And he does. He does. I remember the woman who came to him and you maybe have read this, she came, a close disciple, a close follower came, and their son had just died, young son. And Baba said, he embraced her, he showed her such compassion. Then Baba said, have you wept? Oh, no, Baba, I'm strong for you, Baba. I am strong. It's whatever your will and all that. I am strong. Baba says, you haven't wept? No, Baba. And he said, if you haven't wept, I will weep for you. And he began to weep. And Mandli said, one of the few times I ever seen Baba weep. And then she wept. You see? Because explaining it is nothing. Baba's explanations are not. Baba can't explain what we don't know and can't experience. He can give a best explanation, and we can go around parroting it to people. Well, this is why people suffer in the war. And so, well, okay, it sounds fine. It's better than some other answers, but it's so puny when people are actually suffering to tell them that. Oh, yeah, well, let me tell you why you're suffering. I mean, Baba would never do that. Never do that. I've never seen any of his close ones do that. What they would do is show love and support, and they don't know. Only Baba knows why someone has to go through what they have to go through. Only Baba can give comfort, and it's not comfort with an explanation of, why you're suffering. It's comfort of love, support, even tears if necessary. And, that's the example to me of how to address suffering. I don't find it helpful to explain it. But I do feel it's so beautiful to think that Baba is suffering in and through us. That Baba is there if we're suffering. He is suffering. That is a beautiful thing for me. So I do think of that. I don't think he's abandoned anything. Just one more little example. Someone said to me recently, not to me, we were on a Zoom call. There was some project going on, I don't know, talking about something. And one person said, suicide came up. And this person said, well, that's why I know there's free will. I said, why? Because my father took his life. It was a very terrible thing for him in his life. He was quite young, this person. And so my father took his life. And if there's no free will, it's like saying, Baba took my father's life. And I don't believe that. And I realized, that's the thing. The West particularly, we are so used to saying, oh, God did this. God didn't do that. And Baba doesn't, that's not how Baba gave the picture of the universe. In the universe, God wouldn't do any of these things. God's will is. In the beginningless beginning, out of the Om, or the the Om point or whatever it is. This all is. We call it past, present, future. No, it is. We say, oh, what's going to happen? Baba says, I know what's going to happen. Yeah, it is. Past. It isn't past. It's now. It's all now. So we don't have the mind to grasp that, but Baba says over and over again, it is. The will of God isn't, God says, you are going to suffer. I'll help you over here. I love it when these people say, oh, let's pray, the hurricane won't hit my house. To hell with the neighbors, let's, it's like, what? Or cure me of the disease, why me, So that's the thing, that we have this in our minds, in the West particularly, not you, but the Western mind is such that if there is an idea of God, which is why very few people believe in this anymore, because it's just unbelievable. You mean God is sitting up there, like some cosmic Siri picking on people? You're next, you're going, you're dying, you're living. No. Baba says, no, God is. The will of God is. Now, the mechanics of the universe as we experience it are karma and sanskaras and all that. Baba says that's the law of the universe, but that isn't God's will. And so I didn't say to this fellow, later we corresponded about it, and I slowly kind of went into it a little, and we went back and forth, and I think he got that I wasn't trying to take away from his experience, but what I wanted to sort of bring home is that Baba did not bring about the suicide of his father. Baba didn't do that. That just is. It was from the beginningless beginning already there. And you could say, oh, but it was his father's karma from his past life. True, because that's the mechanics of how it works. Baba says, yes, that's his. But I'm telling you, from the beginningless beginning, it is. The film was taken. We can talk about how the film works. Karma, sanskaras, and all that. But it doesn't change the film or the dream. So Baba didn't get his father to commit suicide. That's the point. Baba doesn't do these things. Baba doesn't. Now, can Baba intervene? And I ask Erich, and Baba also addresses this in some places. But, I said, Erich, I know there's no free will. You've convinced me, Erich. That you've convinced me that my idea of free will is keeping me from experiencing God's will. Means, Erich said, Baba told us, the extent that people exercise their free will is the extent to which they want to remain in separative existence. That's free will. So as long as we are determined to maintain our separative existence, we think we're exercising free will. Baba says there's no such thing. But what to do then? And I said, Erich, you mean to tell me that there's no way that things can be, that God wouldn't intervene at some point, some way? And Baba says, yeah. And Erich says, yeah. He says, grace is there, no doubt. But even that is accounted for in the whim. Even his action of grace is accounted for. So even that, Baba says that too, is not as though it's something unaccounted. But yeah, it's there. Why doesn't Baba use his grace more? Because it's a perfect plan. And what if he did? Then everything else would have to change also. You change one thing, you change everything. And Baba explains, why would we do that? Now Baba says there are times when the avatar will use his grace, no question. And of course, that's when he uses his grace, not to intervene, but to liberate us, that's the real use of grace. Yeah, to break through our trapped ignorance and liberate us is an act of grace. So that he does. And he is that grace to awaken us to ourselves is fully accounted for in the will of God. The will of God works out to awaken everyone to God. Baba says, the will of God works out. So you could say we know the end of the dream. And when we wake up, we're going to say, oh, that was a dream. And, just like we know the end of the film. And when the lights come up in the movie theater, it's a rare film where I'm going to sit there and say, no, I want more. Or, oh, God, I miss it. Of course, if we're very moved by the film, or if we identify strongly with the characters or whatever, we're going to sit there and linger. We may, feel it for a long time in our hearts. But no, when the film is over, we will know it was a film. But, what a film. What a dream. Because without it, we wouldn't know love. And without it, God wouldn't know God. The whole purpose of the universe is to come to realize there's no purpose. It just is, Baba says. Oh, let's see. Baba quotes, real happiness lies in making others happy. Yeah. As much as we try, we can't control the happiness of others. So all you do is try. At the same time, what Baba did say about drawing boundaries, especially, what did Baba say about drawing boundaries, especially when you have someone in your life who's never happy no matter what you do? How does one balance that? Wow, that's a wonderful question. It's a wonderful question. And I don't have an answer exactly, but I just, what Baba, I can say what I've gathered from Baba about this. I think loving someone, by that, what I take Baba to say, helping them, serving them, yes, even at the cost of your own happiness, takes a toll. And if the way one is serving and loving someone is not helping them, to get out of their trap, then one has to find other ways. There's no question. I wouldn't just keep doing the same thing, but at the same time, I would never give up, personally. Because we never know when Baba's going to turn the key. So we may have to draw boundaries in the sense that we may not be able to do everything that we would like to do for the person. We may even see that it's being counterproductive. And if so, we can change strategy. But changing strategy is different obviously than saying, well, there's nothing we can do. We never know when that key, Baba is going to turn that key. Narina had an image for people she was in contact with and all that. It's a little different topic, but it's a beautiful image. She said, it's for me to keep them warm in the nest. Means stay in touch, support, and all that. Because she was their link to Baba. But when it's a family member or someone in your life, and, the thing about never happy, the other thing I feel is we don't know. the happiness that we may be bringing that is not acknowledged or seen. I now know that I had a relative who I was very close to, who for reasons of mental health and other things, he just sort of became estranged for, 15 years. And it was very painful for me, no matter what I did. I mean, he was far away geographically, but also I'd write and this, that. Nothing seemed to work. He seemed never to be able to repair this deep unhappiness. Well, the time came. And there was this email that I sent after hundreds of emails that never responded to, that somehow got through to him in a year. He got all the letters and emails, but he never responded. This did, 15 years. And it turned, and now we're very close. We're very close. And what I've learned, though, and this is just this one story from one life, but I have learned, not to give him advice, not to tell him this, that, not to help. Let him be who he is and just be there for him. Unconditionally. Just be there. So that's a different strategy than I used to. Well, this is what this will help you, this will. And that didn't work. Right? So I don't know. I think with each person in your life that you're struggling to help and serve is a different strategy and a different story. But I would never give up on anyone, right? I mean, Baba wouldn't want us to, I don't think. We have to keep at it and take his name. Take his name. Don't let the person overwhelm your life, obviously. But take his name. Yeah.
There are no questions.
Yes?
No more questions, looks like.
Okay. Here, we're done? Well,
So we're going to have the educated program now, unless you want to continue saying something.
no, I want to just say something personal about being here today.
Please.
I mean, I feel I guess I want to say I feel so grateful to have lived in this time when Baba has called some of his closest lovers to be intimate with him. And I feel sometimes helpless in the face of knowing that, or feeling that, because people say, oh, but when Baba was in his form, that was when, no. He's brought back many people who have been with him a long time. And many are here, sitting here, or joining. And this is the richest time, I feel. This is the richest time. So I'm so grateful to all of you for carrying Baba, carrying his light in the world. We don't know what he's doing. It's not for us to know. But I do know from everything I can gather from him that he's given each of us that opportunity. Baba says, my work is your opportunity. Narshuan is easy to say. What the work, I mean, look what the work Baba's given him. It's there to see, it's concrete, it's the museum, and it's so amazing, and the books, but it's true of each of us. It's true of each of us. And that's what I sometimes feel I can't express enough. I feel like Baba hasn't given me yet the right way to say, because it sounds like I'm knowing more than I do. But I just feel that each of you who carry him in your heart are changing the consciousness of the world. He is through you in ways that we do not know, we do not see. And so the last thing I'll say is what I've come to feel, and for myself now, to speak for myself, I've come to feel I need to say his name to every person I see. I have not been in that habit in my life. But I now realize that will help me remember that the only reason I'm in this store, or going to this place, is because he has some work there. I don't have to be conscious of it. It doesn't depend on me saying his name. But I want the happiness, the joy of feeling as though I'm part of his work. And that comes from saying his name. Sometimes I mutter it to the person. They must think I'm a crazy person. And sometimes I just say it inwardly. Sometimes I say it when I give them money, change. Nobody does much of that anymore. But you know, Baba did that with the mus. The only time he touched money was when he gave it to the mus. And then, you know, we become aware that we're participating in his work, and so that our lives, I don't know, it heightens the awareness that our lives are all for him. And if we are more aware of that, then all the things that we might worry about or stress about or the future and all that kind of fall away, because we are more and more aware that everything we do is carrying his love for him. If we didn't do it, he would get someone else. He's perfectly capable of doing it by himself. Why then do we do it? Why are we given that? To help us grow closer to him. And he is going to draw us closer whether we know it or not, as long as we're holding on. But why not know it and feel it? That's all I'm saying. St. Catherine of Siena used to say, all the way to heaven is heaven. And that's true with Baba. We should have a joyful life with him. And the only way to do that is to remember him in everything we do, and remember how blessed we are to be helping people, even with his name, even alone. His name is everything. It's power. He's invested his name with such power. And so imagine you carrying his name, silently or otherwise, what you're giving to people. It's immeasurable. It's immeasurable, I feel. Anyway, thank you, Jai Baba.